my name's Sid. I've been a professional craft baker for 50 years. Let me ask you a question. Have you been having trouble with your scones? If so, I've got the perfect cure for you. Tell you what, let's go through the process step by step and see if we can find out what's going wrong. And if you like this video, why don't you like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Okay, so let's go through the ingredients for making scones. First of all, 8 ounces all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 3 ounces of unsalted butter, 1 ounce of sugar, granulated or caster, doesn't mind, 1 egg, some milk, I'll tell you the measurement later on, 2 ounces of sultanas, and that's about it. Now if you didn't get those ingredients together, don't worry, it's in the video description. Okay, let's start with the processor. We'll start with this one. This is Grandma's food processor, commonly known as a mixing bowl. I like to use a mixing bowl when I'm doing small recipes. You can use the machine, but I like to get my hands in there. I like to feel things. Baking is an art, it's a passion, it's a life. You know, you've got to get your hands in it, you've got to feel it. If it's too soft, you know it's too soft because you're feeling it, so you can add a bit of flour. If it's too dry, you can add a little liquid. Get your hands in there. Right, let's start with this. 8 ounces all-purpose flour. All-purpose flour. Now, if you saw the other video on the bread, you noticed we use bread flour. Bread flour has lots of gluten in it. All-purpose flour hasn't. All-purpose flour is what it says on the label. It's for everything else except bread, really. You can make pastries out of it. You can make scones out of it like we're doing. You can make cakes out of it. It's for everything else, really. Right, there's 8 ounces of all-purpose flour. Now we'll keep that flour to one side in the container because we will need it later on for dusting the worktop while we're cutting things out. So 8 ounces of flour. Baking powder. Right, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I like to use these measures. These are the proper size measures. You get them from the supermarkets, you get them from the pound shops. If you use your ordinary cutlery at home, you can't guarantee the size that you get. And when you're using small mixes, you really got to be accurate with your measurements. So, teaspoon. It says teaspoon on the side there. We want 2 level teaspoons. There's 1. There's 2 level teaspoons. Put that out of the way. Now then, salt. Again, this measurement has got a half a teaspoon of salt. So, half a teaspoon. So, tip that on there. Again, level, and you know it's half a teaspoon. There you go, that's the salt. Right, 3 ounces of unsalted butter. So you just added the salt to the mix. You don't want salted butter as well, it will make it too salty. So, 3 ounces. Now when you do your butter, and you're weighing it, chop it up in little pieces while you're weighing it. And we're going up to 3 ounces, which is, there we go, 3 ounces. By the way, this makes round about 6 scones. Obviously, if you want to make more, if you're having a party, double your mix or whatever. Right, there goes the salt, the butter. Now, on top of that, we want 1 ounce of sugar. Now, you can use caster sugar, you can use granulated sugar, doesn't really matter. I'm using granulated sugar at the moment. And, oh, that's handy. There you go, just 1 ounce of granulated sugar. Now, this is the important bit. You've got to rub this in until it becomes like breadcrumbs. Use your fingers, get it between your fingers like that, and just squeeze. Keep dipping it in the flour and keep squeezing. It doesn't take long. I'm just rubbing it in between the flour with my thumb and my fingers. I'm just rubbing it in like that until I get all the big lumps out. You can put this in the mixer, as I say. If you were using your mixer, you'd be putting the paddle on it. And you just rub it in until you get it like breadcrumbs. But I like to get my hands in it. I like to feel what I'm making. As I say, it's an art. It's all about the feel of the thing. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. You know, bottom line. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. smooth. Now, see what I'm doing now? I've got the big lumps out, so I'm just putting it in the palm of my hand. I'm just rubbing like that. Not too hard. And the flour itself will mix into the butter and it'll break it up. I'm just rubbing like that, just lightly, it doesn't have to be hard. You really need to do this in the cooler air rather than when it's too warm, because you don't want that butter turning into oil. If the butter turns to oil, then it'll just be a slop. You really want it nice and firm, the butter. There we go, it's nearly there. See this on the video. That is basically, look at that, it's just powdered crumb really, and that's what you want to end up with. You can do this as long as you want to. Only after you add your liquid in do you have to be quick, because you can't, once you add liquid to a flour, it starts going tough, so you can't mix it too much after you've added your liquid. Right, add your sultanas at this point. There, you can stir them. There you go, there's your sultanas stirred in. Now, what we do next, get a measuring jug, break your egg into the measuring jug. Like that. Okay, now what I want to do now is to take that up to 4 fluid ounces. So, pour the milk in till I get to 4 fluid ounces. There you go, 4 fluid ounces. That's why I couldn't tell you how much milk to use at the start. It all depends on the size of your egg. If you've got a large egg, then you take less milk. Obviously, if it's a small egg, you take more milk. Just mix it slightly, throw it in. Again, if you're using a machine, this is what you just throw it in, but this is the important bit now, you don't over mix it. If you're on a machine, you do tend to over mix things. As soon as this is clogged together, it's ready. A lot of people make the mistake of just keep mixing and mixing. That makes the scones tough. And you really don't want tough scones, do you? And there it is, it's ready, look. It might feel a bit sloppy, it's supposed to. That is the perfect texture for scones. Right, just scrape it off your fingers. Kids love doing this, by the way, because they like getting messed up. If you can encourage your kids to bake early, they'll appreciate it in years to come. Now, the old magic plastic scraper. Remember the plastic scraper we talked about in the bread video? It's coming out again. We use this every time we bake, really. So this plastic scraper out. You can get these in Poundland, you can get them in supermarket, you get them anywhere. And they come in packs with all different shapes and sizes. Right, now we want the flour. Remember I said you need some flour for dusting? This is, see, my hands are still sticky, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Put some flour down. Dip your fingers in the flour. Now rub your fingers together. This is what we were taught in the bakery. As long as your hands have been washed beforehand and the work surface is clean, which of course it should be. Don't forget when we use antibacterial and all that sort of stuff these days. Miraculously clean. Now, put the scone mix on top of that. Scrape the scraper off. And there we go. You see now I'm not doing anything with this mix now because I don't want to make it tough. So, what I've got now, I've got a flat tray. And I've put some of my non-stick paper on. Remember the non-stick paper again from the bread video? Non-stick baking paper, not greaseproof paper. Non-stick is what it says on the label. Nothing sticks to it. Greaseproof paper, no good. If you use greaseproof paper, your stuff will stick to it. Non-stick baking paper. Again, supermarkets, cheap shops, whatever, they all have it. Right, sprinkle a little flour on top of your scone mix. Press it down. Somewhere there, tape measure. There you go. That is, oh, I don't know, 3 mil, about 3 mil deep. And the cutter. Now, if you haven't got a proper cutter, for years and years I picked up anything out of my cupboard. This is the top off something. It's round. You know, use it, put a little hole in the bottom of it. This is 2.5 inches thick. You put a little hole in the bottom of it, you've got a cutter. You can get all size containers and make yourself a load of cutters. My wife bought these a few months ago again from the cheap shop. Got all the size cutters in it. This one, 2 3/4 inches. This one, so dip it in the flour and just cut through. Place it on there. So there we go. Dip it in the flour. Place it on there. Now when we were in the bakery, we'd be doing 300 or 400 of these a day. And that dry mix you saw me make, we used to make loads of that and just store it. So we make the dry mix, put it in a big vat, and just get out the weights with one when we want it. Until you had the liquid, it's fine. So if you want to make a big load of it, store it somewhere dry, you can just get it out and use it. Now, I've just cut 4 scones out of that, and I've got this bit over. I'm not mixing it hard together, I'm just pressing it. Just press it, you don't want to move it around too much. A little bit of flour, and cut another one. And finally, there's a bit of, I just about get the other one out of that. What I'll do, I'll just place my thing over that and press it in, just to get the shape. There we go. That might be the run to the litter, that one. Now, previously I cracked an egg into a dish, mixed it up with my brush, and I'm just going to brush it over the top of there like that. So that small runty one at the end, that's going to be mine when it comes out. That's all mine. Now we're going to slip this in the oven, and this is going to be again about 150 degrees in the fan oven. And again we're putting it around about 1 inch, 2 inches from the bottom of the oven, because we want the heat to come from the bottom of the oven upwards and not from the top downwards, burning the top of the scones. So 2 inches from the bottom of the oven, and that's going to be about 20 minutes. Right, so we've been around about 20 minutes, and I think these are ready. Don't forget we had it at 150 degrees on the fan oven. Oh yes, nice golden brown on the top, and there's your scones. Right, turn the oven off. Now then, remember that one, that was the run to the litter, that's mine later. And there's the other ones, beautiful, light, soft, delicate scones. Now remember, these are Sultana scones. You can put currants in, you can put cherries in, anything you want really. Dried fruit is best obviously, whichever you prefer. I'll try that one in a moment. So the scones are out, but I just want to show you this first before we do anything else. If you're serious about baking, you really need a knife like this. This is a saw knife, it's a baker's saw knife, and it's got about a 12-inch blade, sharp as a razor, but you can get these off the internet, they're not that dear. Well worth it if you're cutting sandwich cakes or slab cake. They go right the way across, you don't have to mess around going around the cake. It will go right through in one go. Well worth the money. About 5-6 quid I think on the internet, on the well-known auction site, you know what I mean? Right, let's cut one of these scones open. My scone, the runt, remember? A little bit of butter, a little bit of jam. I'm not getting into the argument of cream and jam and which one goes first or anything like that. I'm a true northern lad, I like a bit of butter. So, this is the small one. Watch your fingers, this is razor sharp, remember. So straight through the scone. Just look at the crumb on that. That's when you can tell if something's right. If the crumb's right, you know it's right. So we put a little bit of butter on. Just spread a bit of butter. Oh, this is going to be lovely. The butter's melting into it. This is gorgeous. This is going to give me indigestion, I can tell that. Well worth it though. A little bit of jam. Like that. Put the other one on the top. I'm going to cut this in half. Normally I just eat it all in one go, but as I'm on camera. Oh. Oh. What can I say? I'm a genius. Thank you. Good luck with your scones.